Hello, 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 everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to the Flight Sim world. This is Viper Strike 95, and today we're back with another 50 States of 50 Dreams series. Today, part 13 of 50 here today, and that's right, guys. We're here in Rhode Island, the last of the 13 colonies of the United States that admitted to the U.S. Union. So, Rhode Island, it is actually also, most people know Rhode Island for being the smallest U.S. state. However, despite its small size, this area packs a rich history, rich culture, and traditions that are not that are quite large for its size. And it's got a really cool history, culture, and landmarks. So I hope you guys are having a great weekend so far. I hope you all had a great weekend. I know right now outside we got snow in Indiana, so we got snow last night. But we have a really, but so far it's going pretty good for me. Before we get started, I do want to say hello to everyone. Good to see all the lurkers in chat and my trusty moderator, Super Typhon. Good to have you here. So let's go over today's flight plan. Um, a so we're going to start here in North Central Airport. Since Rhode Island is a very small state, the distance is only about 107 nautical mile flight today. We're going to go from North Central State. We're going to visit Woonsocket. Then we'll make our way here. We'll turn here, or head back down to the south to West Greenwich. Then we're going to visit Westerly and make our first stop here at Westerly State Airport. Then from Westerly State, we're going to go. We're going to visit two of the historic beachside communities here, Narragansett, and of course, most famously, Newport. Which, if you guys aren't aware about Newport, Newport is rich with mansions. We might fly over a few of the mansions and stuff here in Newport. Because Newport as a city has a very rich history, and I really do recommend you guys fly and check out Newport as well. Really cool area to fly in Rhode Island. So, and then our second stop will be Newport State Airport. And then for the third and final leg, we'll make our way back to Providence. So we'll be heading our way. So we'll be heading our way over to Providence. So we'll be flying back to Providence, which is the state capital of Rhode Island. This is also where Flight Sim Expo 2025 will be held here in Providence. And then finally back to the airport we started from, North Central State. That's going to be today's flight plan, guys. Not too complicated, just a simple return back to the main airport. But to be fair, it's because Rhode Island's a very small state. Not very many airport options we can go. So, in fact, it'd be quicker to do it back to the way we came. Originally, I took the airship, but I decided, I need more time with the airship since it's got a lot of interesting stuff going for it. So today we're going to take a very different kind of plane. More specifically, this is an ultralight. This is Hawk Arrow 2. This is a ultralight built by CGS Aviation. They mainly built this. This two-seater experimental plane gives it a long nose for good visibility, as well as a semi-symmetrical airfoil, extra aluminum wing struts, and she has quite a bit. She can 65 horsepower engine. She can cruise up to 48 to 70 knots, and most importantly, she takes about 300 hours for assembly for a first-time builder. And your basic kit can include things like dual 3-axis control, full fuselage pilot surround, roll cage, heavy-duty wings, control surfaces, rough terrain wheels, which is actually going to make this good because if this thing has pretty good stall performance, I might be able to take this for our national park series for some of the smaller national parks, or we don't have to fly nearly as far. Take this bird. And she could even come with a 65 horsepower engine Rotex package, and additional options including that of trim tabs, mechanical brakes, folding tail. You can even have amphibious and float system included as well. a fast build kit, and more. Um, so yeah, pretty cool little plane. I'll show you guys. Here's the link to the plane, by the way, if you guys want to look at this in real life. But she's a really cool plane, and I like this. Like I said, it's nice to have another little ultralight in the sim. Very nice. I always like flying these little ultralights here in the sim. And back in 2020 even, too. Just because she's such a cool plane. It's cool to see these small planes. So we're going to go ahead and taxi down to runway 05. So the airport we're going to be starting here today is North Central State Airport. It's going to be where we're starting here today. This airport is located in Providence County, Rhode Island. It's situated between the towns of Smithfield and Lincoln, right not far from Pawtucket. And it's one of 6 active airports in the state, along with TF Green State Airport, Onset State Airport, Westview State Airport, Newport State Airport, and Block Island Airport. It's mainly used for general aviation aircraft, for private pilots in general aviation. So, there's also a $5 landing fee for any aircraft not registered in Rhode Island. That's for all Rhode Island airports. That's where we're going to be here today. Hey, good to see you, Gascan 2020. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a great day. We're going to go ahead and prepare for our little ultralight flight. We'll be buzzing out of here to talk about Rhode Island for a minute. So we're going to be heading to Woonsocket first, little Woonsocket, Rhode Island. So 43,000 people live in Woonsocket, making it Rhode Island's 6th largest city. It's also the northernmost city in the state, and it's directly south of the Massachusetts state line. The city is most prominent for being the corporate headquarters of CVS Health, a pharmacy service provider, but also home to other institutions like the Landmark Medical Center, the Museum of Work and Culture, which features the city's textile and heritage, and the American French Genealogical Society for French Canadian research. Woonsocket was incorporated in 1867, though the area has technically been around for settlement in the 1820s with the Industrial Revolution in Pawtucket, mainly for the textile mill. And there's a lot of historic sites in there. And they got lots of historic sites in Rhode Island. The city's also most famous. Some of its notable people includes baseball player Rocco Baldelli, civil rights activist Josephine Byrd, and legendary baseball Hall of Famer Napoleon LaJoie, who is so well known. He's also got a baseball team. One point, the Cleveland Indians or Cleveland Gardens had their team named after him back then. Yeah, little old Woonsocket. And we're off in our little ultra. gonna go ahead and climb. So yeah, we're finally up in Rhode Island. So gonna head to Woodstock. 52 knots, which is perfectly fine for this trip, considering we're gonna be anyways throughout the entire trip. Once we get to Woonsocket, we'll fly over briefly, and then we'll talk about Rhode Island's history, because one of the most fascinating things about Rhode Island as a state is that in spite of its small size, um, we are going to be mainly talking about its rich history. Like I said, you'd be surprised about this state's rich history. Yeah, I do like flying this thing. This thing's actually pretty. Hmm. Woonsocket's going to come up pretty shortly. So yeah, major area. If you know anything about Rhode Island historically, this area was a big major part of the Industrial Revolution, mainly under the Blackstone River Valley, which is where Woonsocket actually, along with its fellow industrial city of Pawtucket, were major parts of the Industrial Revolution. Mainly with the first textile and cotton mills, and as a result, that's what Rhode Island got on the map economically as well. Some of its other nicknames here, Rhode Island's known as the Ocean State. It's also got one more little nickname, Little Rhode, which makes sense considering how small the state Rhode Island is. It is a very small state. So if you guys also want to know what I've been doing as well, I've been also currently working on notes for one of my other series I'm planning on working on. And that is, I'm currently working on notes for my American Trail series, covering the different U.S. trails and all that. So I'm almost done with the American Trail stuff, the notes, but it is, I'm working on the Trail of Tears Natural Historic Trail, which is, and I'm working on that as well for one of my trail series, which is the Trail of Tears National Historic Trail, and I'm working on that. So I'm working on notes for the Trail of Tears. because this is a big black eye moment in American history for obvious reasons. So I wanted to work on that, but I'm nearly done with that. And then the last route I'll be covering for the trail series would be the Washington Rochambeau Revolution, which talks about the American Revolution. I wanted to go ahead and cover that. So let's go ahead and get covering about the history of Rhode Island, or preparing for the next leg. Let's talk a little bit about Rhode Island herself. So yes, Rhode Island is in the New England region of the United States, in the Northeast. It's bordered by Connecticut to the west, Massachusetts to the north and east, and the Atlantic Ocean in the south. And it also shares a maritime border with New York. Well, it is by far the smallest state in the U.S. By land area. Put in this perspective, for Rhode Island, compare that to Rhode Island compared to other nations. Rhode Island is about twice as small as the island of Corsica in France. And it's small compared to a lot of other U.S. states. For example, California is 135 times the size of Rhode Island. Yes, 135 times larger than Rhode Island. Texas is 222 times larger than that of Rhode Island. Even the second smallest state, Delaware, is about 1.6 times larger than Rhode Island. And that's the second smallest state. So Rhode Island's a tiny state. And oh yeah, and if you want to make it feel even smaller, you can fit Rhode Island to Alaska 425 times. It's small. It's also the seventh least populous state with only 1.1 million residents. However, it has continually grown since every decennial census since 1790. And it's the second most densely populated state in the country after New Jersey. Of course, the state takes its name from the infamous island of Rhode Island. So nearly all of its land area is in the mainland, and the capital most populous city is Providence. Of course, Rhode Island is well known for being the first colony to call for a Continental Congress to renounce its allegiance with the British Crown. And it was the fourth state to do the Articles of Confederation. However, it was the last state to ratify the U.S. Constitution in 1990. Also, it's well known for the ocean state due to the fact it has a 400-mile coastline and large bays that make up 14% of its land area. So it's why it's called the ocean state. That's why it's called the ocean state. Hey, Philby, good to see you, my dude. I hope you're doing well. We're in Rhode Island today for our 50 States, 50 Streams. We're covering Rhode Island's history. So Rhode Island, on the onset of European colonization, what was now Rhode Island, it was mainly inhabited by 5 Native American tribes. By far, most of it was inhabited by the Narragansett people, which is the namesake of one of the communities we'll be visiting here But you also have the Wampanoag in the eastern borderlands, the southwest coast by the Niantic, western borderlands by the Pequot, and the northern borderlands by the Nipmuc people. In 1636, Roger Williams was banished from the Massachusetts Bay Colony for his religious views, and he settled at the top of the Narragansett Bay on land sold to him by the native chief at the time, Canonicus. And he named that site Providence, named after having a sense of God's merciful providence unto me in my distress, and became a place where religious freedom were welcome. The reason Roger Williams was banished in the first place was that he was religiously tolerant in a time period where, of course, the colonists were very religiously intolerant because the, in 1638, Annie Hutchinson, William Coddington, John Clark, and Philip Sherman and other descendants were also allowed to settle into Rhode Island, which helped build the modern state today. His settlement was first called Pusket, and then he changed it to Portsmouth in 1639. It's actually this settlement. And known as the Portsmouth Compact, which is a legal document that settled Portsmouth. Samuel Groton also purchased lands around this area and had a dispute with the Massachusetts Bay Colony, and then all those cities were unified into the colony of Rhode Island. So it became its own colony back in the day. Of course, Metacomet was the Wampanoag tribe war leader who killed colonists called King Philip. And they invaded and burned down several towns during the King's Philip War, including Providence, which was attacked twice. Eventually, it ended once an Indian name associated with Benjamin George killed King Philip to end the war. Later, the colony was amalgamated into the Dominion of England. In 1686, as King James II attempted to force royal authority over the colonies of British North America, however, it regained independence in 1688 after the Glorious Revolution. The colony later prospered under the slave trade, distilling rum to sell to Africa as part of the profitable triangular trade of slaves and sugars with the Caribbean. However, Rhode Island's legislative body passed an act in 1652 to abolish slavery, which, believe it or not, is the first British colony to actually abolish slavery. However, it was never enforced, and it still continued to be heavily involved in the slave trade even during the post-revolutionary era. Also in 1674 is the founding of a major Ivy League university, Brown University, as the college in the British colony of Rhode Island Providence Plantations, one of the 9 colonial colleges. And it's the first college to accept students regardless of religious affiliation. Of course, one of the most historically important events for Rhode Island has got to be the Revolutionary War era. As you know, Rhode Island is very, very well known for its independence, and that independent spirit and dissent gave it a major role in the American Revolution. As a result, in 1772, a band of Providence residents attacked a grounded schooner HMS Gaspee from enforcing impopular trade regulations within the bay, and it was the first of the 13 colonies to renounce allegiance to the British crown in May 4th, 1776. During the Revolution, the British occupied Newport, but a combined Franco-American force drove them off the edge of Crank Island. Also, Portsmouth was famous for being home to the first African-American military unit, the 1st Rhode Island Regiment, fight for the U.S. during the Battle of Rhode Island. And of course, another thing that happened was that after the British abandoned Newport, they let an expedition of 5,500 French troops under Count Rochambeau arrive in Newport Sea in 1780, and they did the march to Yorktown, 1781, but ended with the defeat of the British at Yorktown. And we'll be covering that for the final trail route, the Washington-Renchaubeau route. We'll be covering that during our streams. Of course, Rhode Island was also very heavily involved in the Industrial Revolution in 1787, when Thomas Somers reproduced textile plants when they imported from England and helped build the Beverly Cotton Manufacturing, which helped start the Industrial Revolution here in the United States. Very big deal when you talk about Rhode Island's history. Of course, in 1841, act was led by Thomas Dorr led to an extra legal convention to draft a new state constitution, but it violated the guarantee clause in the U.S. Constitution, so as a result, the charged governments held several elections. There were two different governments that claimed sovereignty in the state. Later, Dorr's supporters led an armed rebellion, and Dorr was later arrested and imprisoned for treason. So, and finally, in the early 19th century, Rhode Island was subject to a tuberculosis outbreak, which led to public hysteria about vampirism. Yes, there was a vampire pandemic of vampires. Yes, that's actually real. Yes, people were absolutely terrified of vampires, and no, those are not the ones that sparkle in sunlight like the ones you read in Twilight. Actually, oops. So eventually we get to the Civil War era. Rhode Island was actually the first Union state to send troops in response to Lincoln's request. And Rhode Island had furnished 23,705 men for the U.S. Civil War, which around almost 1,700 died. And they mainly used their industrial capacity to supply the army with materials to win the war. Also, temporarily, they moved the U.S. Naval Academy to Rhode Island during the war. And in 1866, Rhode Island abolished racial segregation in public schools. However, the most important thing to talk about the late 19th century has got to be the Gilded Age. And this is where Rhode Island was at its golden age. As Rhode Island was a major center for the Gilded Age and provided a home or summer home for many of the country's most prominent industrialists. Most importantly, in Newport, which New York's wealthiest industrialists created a summer haven to socialize and build grand mansions. You can find them all over Newport. And we might be able to fly over some of them today. Also, in addition, they got lots of immigrants. Like French, Canadian, Italian, Irish, and Portuguese immigrants filled many of the jobs for textile and manufacturing mills in Providence, Pawtucket, Central Falls, and Winston. So the Gilded Age was really the golden age for Rhode Island. That's probably the peak of Rhode Island during that Gilded Age. Made it a very wealthy state. During World War I, 28,000 people from Rhode Island served in World War I. 612 died. However, after the war, the state was hit hard by the Spanish influenza. However, it was not caused by the Spanish flu. That's not actually what the Spanish flu, by the way. You guys aren't aware, it's not called the Spanish flu. It did not actually originate in Spain. It actually was first documented in Kansas, funnily enough. However, the reason it was called Spanish flu was because the outbreak was freely reported in Spain. And that's why it got that misnomer, even though in reality we know it was not Spain that caused the Spanish flu. But it ended up killing around 25 to 50 million people, which is mostly generally accepted, but some estimates range from 17 to 100 million people. One of the deadliest pandemics in history. So, yes. Then during the Great Depression, since the Great Depression, the In the 20s and 30s, there was a lot of Ku Klux Klan membership. However, um, thankfully they put them down. And finally, since the Great Depression, the Democrat Party has ruled local politics. However, there are still many urban areas with high child poverty. On August 31st, 1986, celebrated the 350th anniversary of Rhode Island, with performers like Chuck Berry, Thomas James, and Bob Hope to commemorate 350th anniversary of the state. So yeah, that covers Rhode Island. Yes, like I said, small state, but a lot of history in that state. Let's go look outside, obviously. Okay, look at that, a little ultralight. Okay. The one thing I wish this thing didn't have was the autopilot, which was why I like that Drifter ultralight a lot, is because the Drifter has a really neat little autopilot. Fly to wherever direction I want. I think it's compatible for MSFS 2024 now, so I might reinstall that. But I haven't gotten to anything yet because I'm still trying to wait for more stuff to be compatible. Yeah, I hope you guys like this information. If you do guys enjoy this information, you smash the follow button, support the channel. We stream 3 days a week. So next week, I'm thinking about planning for next week. I think we're going to do something different next week. I think we're going to be in. I think I'm going to probably take the Dreamliner. I believe. I want to test the Dreamliner. I want to do some flying. Probably. I mean, we're gonna get a new hub soon, so maybe I want to wait till then. But I think we're gonna take the Dreamliner, probably out of Singapore, probably, or we might do our either in Singapore or we take the Dreamliner out in Japan. Probably do some flying across and. Maybe we'll fly from Nagoya over to Shanghai potentially. That would be Nagoya, Shanghai, probably pretty good flight. We'll do that on next Wednesday, and then obviously, of course, for the 50 states, 50 streams, this will be um our last week to do the 50 states, 50 series, because um because after that there will only be the Wednesday stream. So for the next week's 50 states, 50 streams, we'll be covering the U.S. states of Vermont and Kentucky. So we'll be first visiting Vermont. So for Vermont, which will be the first state outside of the 13 colonies. We'll be going from North State and we'll head up north through Vermont. So we'll go up through the Green. So we're going to go through the Green Mountains, make our way up to Vermont. And we'll make our way up to the north. So it'll be about 173 nautical mile flight. that's what we're going to be doing. And then finally for Sunday is going to be Kentucky. And finally for the next Sunday will be Kentucky, which is going to be the Bluegrass State and my second home state technically. Because I live basically right next to it. That's what we're going to do. So, and for that one, we'll be, and finally for the Kentucky stream, we'll be going from Paducah. We'll make our way to Paducah. Then we'll fly our way over to Bowling Green, Kentucky. Bowling Green up to Louisville. And then finally from Louisville, we're going to make our way over to Lexington. So that's what's going to be going on. And that's what's going to be going on here. And we'll end up in Lexington, Kentucky. So that will be the last ones we're going to be doing for the next weeks because I'm going to be gone vacation pretty soon. We're just 82 nautical miles from the end of our trip. We're going to... So guys, I hope you all had a good weekend. I hope you guys had a really good weekend. Enjoyed yourselves here in the channel. Yeah, here's the coast. What gives Rhode Island its nickname. Ocean all across the distance. We're going to be making our way over to... Oh. So, that's going to be next week. For me, I'm just currently trying to finish up the trails. Then I'll start working on the all-country stream. So, hopefully get all the notes for all the stuff going on for you guys. That way you guys get up to the streams. let's talk about another thing about Rhode Island as well. That's its geography. Of course, Rhode Island, being a small state in the country, is known as the ocean state due to all of its oceanfront beaches. Of course, it's most notably flat with no real mountains. Its highest point is Jeremoth Hill, 812 feet above sea level. There's two distinct regions in the state. One is Rhode Island, which contains the lowland of the Narragansett Bay, and while western Rhode Island forms part of the New England upland. The major feature of its topography is Narragansett Bay, which there are more than 30 islands within the bay. The largest is Aqueduct Island, which contains Newport, Middletown, and Portsmouth. The second largest island is Connecticut, and the third is Prudence. You also have Block Island, which is about 12 miles off the southern coast. It separates the Block Island south from the Atlantic Ocean. Also, Rhode Island is home to a particularly rare type of rock called Cumberlandite, found only in the town of Cumberland, the state rock. And it's mainly mined for its ferrous content of iron. Pretty interesting stuff. Lots of islands, lots of stuff more. Then, of course, for the climate, Rhode Island has a humid continental climate with warm summers, cold winters. Southern coastal portions are subtropical with hot summers and cool winters. Block Island is very oceanic. The highest temperature ever recorded here is 104 degrees in Providence in 1975. The lowest temperature was in Green, negative 20 degrees. So monthly average temperatures range from 83 degrees to as low as 20 degrees. It is vulnerable to tropical storms and hurricanes due to the location in New England, catching the brunt of main storms that blow up the eastern seaboard, with hurricane damages like Hurricane Carol, Donna, and Bob. It's also vulnerable to storm surge and coastal erosion, well, due to its low elevation. Definitely something pretty important to keep in mind here in Rhode Island. We're cruising on 68 knots. So, of course, next week, Murph streams channel next week. Be covering next week on Two-Tone Murphy's channel. He'll be back with another DC-6 Journey in the Illusions, once again on Monday. So he'll be back to doing that. He'll be flying from Africa to Nikolowski PAKO, so he'll be doing that. Pass through volcanoes and weather, which is something Alaska has always been known for, is its unpredictable weather. Then he'll also be back Tuesday from Madrid to Malaga. So he'll be back to doing that this week. And of course, Friday's a members flight in Germany. we're going to be heading to Westerly here pretty shortly. That's our first stop will be coming up pretty soon. I hope you're enjoying the stream, guys. I hope you're having a good time here. So, of course, I know this isn't very fast, obviously, but luckily we'll be landing here very shortly. Westerly will be our first destination here today. Westerly is a town in Rhode Island, settled by English colonists in 1661. It's a municipality in 1669. This town is a beachfront community on the southern shore of the state with a population of 23,000 people. And the western northern borders of Westerly are defined by the national border of the Pawcatuck River, along with the border town of Hopkinton. Westerly becomes a notable tourist destination during the summer month when the population nearly doubles. Thanks to its beaches of Weekapaug, Westerly Town Beach, and Misquicot State Beach. And it's also historically important for the granite mining and stone cutting industry, which ran until the quarries stopped operating in the 1950s. Westerly used to be, during the War of 1812, as a shipbuilding center for shipbuilding, but of course this area grew during the Gilded Age for granite mining and stone cutting. It's mainly known for its unique type of stone that is pinkish granite, but it's pinkish. And it also produced blue as well as pinks and reds. And you can find their work all over, from Gettysburg battlefields to municipal buildings, even been featured in the Georgia State Capitol. That pinkish gold thing in the granite is actually was from here, from Westerly. And of course, during the 20th century, it's currently well known for being no, that basically covers a bit about Westerly. And finally, our first stop is Westerly State Airport. It's going to be where we're going at right now. The Westerly State Airport serves the town of Westerly. It's the primary GA airport, but there is scheduled service to Block Island from New England Airlines, again, a small regional airline. It began as a grass strip in the 20s. However, it became the second state-owned airport in the U.S. after T.F. Green Airport in the 1940s. It was mainly used as a U.S. Navy base due to its location between Boston and New York City. So that's what. So that is what Westerly Airport is known for. We're going to go ahead and start. Thankfully, the next two legs are going to be pretty quick in comparison. I know the first leg took a bit longer. Here we go. I know it's gonna take us a bit of a while, so this isn't the fast. But this one would be good for our National Park Series due to the fact that you don't have to fly very far at all. So I want to ask you in chat, if you got any really cool ideas, just let me know. So I also got a list of all the countries we're going to be covering in the future. And I got the all countries thing listed, so I got all the stuff in the text. So the all country series that we're going to do next time in the future, after this series is over, which will be on Fridays, we'll be covering each series in alphabetical order. So we'll start with Afghanistan, will be our first nation we'll be covering, and it's all going to be in name order. So it'll be alphabetical order for this one, and we're going to go. And we're going to go alphabetical order from Afghanistan, and we're going to go all the way down to the end with Zimbabwe. So basically, we'll start with Afghanistan and stuff. However, for some nations that would be like really small or don't have a lot of area, we might do multiple of them, depending on how, if they're like a really small country, extremely small, then we might cover them. Might cover multiple of them depending on how big or small they are. But yeah, I'll be giving you guys flight plans for each of them. Yeah, I'll definitely let you guys. So here's the town of Westerly. That will be our first stop of the day. Westerly. Here's our airport, so we'll be covering Westerly first. beautiful Rhode Island coast. Soon is the beautiful Rhode Island coast. So here's our first lane of the day here. We're about halfway done of this journey, by the way, as well. We're about nearly halfway done in terms of distance, at least. Yeah, you can see all the beaches there. Let's go ahead and put. We're down. Pretty easy landing. Like I said, since this is a little ultralight, takeoff landing distances can. We'll get ready for the second leg soon. We'll get to Narragansett and in Newport, our next leg of the flight. Pretty short leg, but I think it would be pretty good to get going here pretty shortly. Thankfully, though, one of the nice things about this plane stuff with stall capability. Hey, good to see you, Larry Goffnick. Good to see you. Yep, low and slow for Rhode Island. Of course, it is the smallest state in the Union, so I have to take something low and slow. Anything else would be too fast for Rhode Island. It is the smallest state, Larry. However, despite being a small state, Rhode Island's got rich history. I do want to cover a little bit about the economy of Rhode Island. Talk briefly about Rhode Island's economy. Because historically, Rhode Island's economy has been mainly dominated by um, with fishing historically, but also most importantly with textile mills and all that were very important for Rhode Island due to the fact that at one point it was one of the world leaders in textiles. However, with the Great Depression, most of the textile factories were located in the southern U.S. That being said, it still had a lot of legacy. After all, it was where the American Industrial Revolution happened. Other industries in the past include toolmaking, costume jewelry, and silverware were part of Rhode Island's industry. There's lots of abandoned factories which are now currently used for condos, museums, offices, and low-income housing. Rhode Island also has it's home to the headquarters of Citizens Financial Group, the 14th largest bank in the country, as well as other Fortune 500 companies like CBS and Textron. Are based in Woonsocket and Providence. Its gross state production is $46 billion, which is 45th, and per capita is around 16th in the nation with $41,000. The largest industry are now health services, and secondly is tourism, are the two largest industries in the state. Its largest employer, however, is the state of Rhode Island, followed by Brown University Health, and then the U.S. federal government third. Three largest employers of Rhode Island. In terms of transportation as well, Rhode Island has a couple interesting things. Being the small states, there's quite a lot of intra and intercity bus transport between Providence, Pawtucket, and Newport, and they serve 38 of Rhode Island's 39 cities and towns. So bus transport is actually really common here in the States compared to many others in the country. There's also ferry service from mainland Rhode Island to the Block Island, Newport, and Narragansett. And there is some rail service, the Providence-Slogan line of the MBTA commuter rail. There's also a few Amtrak stations here too. And finally, for aviation, the primary airport in the city is T.F. Green Airport in Warwick. However, Rhode Islanders who want to travel internationally go to that of Boston Logan, which is up in Boston, about an hour and a half away. You also have some interstate highways, but there's not very much access to them due to the fact that, again, it's a state. So there's not a lot of stuff coming to highway. Hey, good to see you, Kingsman. Welcome on in, my dude. I hope you're doing well. We're in Rhode Island today. We're going low and slow in Rhode Island. We're flying here in beautiful Rhode Island. Yeah, drifting towards the coast, but coastline. I really do like this ultralight. This is a lot of fun. I like this little CGS Hawk Arrow 2. Great little ultralight. I have a lot of fun with this. It'd be a nice little plane for the National Park Series. Since technically I want low and slow, and this thing can do stole stuff, so this would be a pretty neat little plane, the stole operation, if I wanted to. And, and then we gotta talk about Rhode Island in another way. So, certain cuisine, in terms of culture and stuff, Rhode Island definitely has a bit of culture. Of course, Rhode Islanders speak with a distinctive non-Rhode Island accent, which is a cross between New York City and Boston accents. And many Rhode Islanders distinguish a strong ah sound with those might hear in New Jersey. But of course, like in terms of cuisine, just like the rest of New England has a tradition of clam chowder. Both New England and Red Manhattan variety of clam chowder is popular. There's also a unique clear broth one known as a Rhode Island clam chowder in many restaurants. Another culinary tradition in the state is the clam cake, which is known as a clam fritter outside of Rhode Island. Deep fried ball of batter dough with chopped bits of clam. It can serve by the half dozen or dozen of most seafood restaurants in the States. And their typical summer meal in the state is chowder and clam cakes. And they mainly use the quahog clam, which is the hard clam used in chowder. The official state drink of Rhode Island is coffee milk, using milk and coffee syrup. And it was actually invented here in the state. And another staple is Johnny Cakes, is cornmeal flatbread. Been a staple since colonial times. Made with cornmeal, water, and pan-fried like pancake. In terms of sports, again, being the small state, sports aren't really a big deal here in Rhode Island, but it's mainly home to minor league teams, the Providence Bruins hockey team, and Rhode Island FC for soccer in the USL Championship. However, there used to be a minor league baseball team, the Pawtucket Red Sox, in Pawtucket, and they played from 1973 to 2020 until they moved to Worcester, Massachusetts. Following enough, before the expansion of all athletic teams, Rhode Island actually played a role in supporting teams. In the first World Championship in baseball history, the Providence Rays. They played in the National League. Babe Ruth even played for them during their minor league time. And also, Rhode Island has a rich, deep history with soccer, as the sport was played as early as 1886. They would have their own football association for soccer. So Rhode Island has a really rich soccer history, too, among the United States. So pretty cool stuff about Rhode Island. And finally, the last thing about, oh yeah, in the Pawtucket Brewery. Good to see you, John. Yes, the Pawtucket Brewery, too. Oh. Yeah, from Family Guy. Yep. I get it. But believe it or not, there's a lot of firsts here in Rhode Island, too. A lot of people don't realize this. But Pawtucket has many, Rhode Island has many firsts, including the first law prohibiting slavery in America in 1652, the first armed rebellion in America in 1772, first successful cotton spinning mill in the U.S. in Slater Mill, the oldest 4th of July parade in Bristol, Rhode Island, the first American city to lit by gaslight in 1806 in Newport, the oldest flying horses carousel in Watch Hill, operated since 1850, and more. But yes, lots of firsts here in the U.S. state of Rhode Island. Rhode Island, like I said, small state, but rich history. Very, very rich. So that covers basically the rest of the Rhode Island states. We just got 2 more slides about Rhode Island in general. So we're about to head to our first historic place here along the second leg. 2 very important communities we'll be visiting here. Again, I know this plane is going to beat these speed records. I mean, we're only going 64 knots. This isn't very fast. The coast looks definitely pretty from up here. So I hope you all have a good weekend. So we're going to be visiting Narragansett first. Um, Narragansett, located in Washington County, Rhode Island, population 14,000 people. However, during summer months, it more than doubles to 34,000 people, and it occupies a narrow strip of land right around the eastern bank of the Penobscot River, to the shore of Narragansett Bay, which is the namesake. And this is a very well-known resort town, especially during the summer season, as well as a popular surfing spot on the east coast, due to its swells from the Atlantic Ocean. And it's well known for its recreation and beaches, because there are three famous beaches that made this are the most famous. You have the Town Beach, charges a fee, but it's a self-sustained, state-funded beach. Then you have Scarborough State Beach, which has pavilions, showers, picnic tables, and observation tower. And then the Roger Wheeler State Beach as well. Pretty cool stuff. And it's mainly featured in pop culture for Family Guy. In fact, several episodes of Family Guy take place in Rhode Island. So, they're pretty cool stuff, and they're definitely some pretty famous people. Hey, Planet Neutral, good to see you, my dude. Welcome on in. If you guys don't know about Planet Neutral, amazing guy. I love his streams. His River Run series and stuff are super cool, and I highly recommend you guys check out his channel. Amazing guy. Oh, nice. You spent your college years up here. Yeah, Rhode Island. Very small state, but like I said back earlier in the stream, Rhode Island is rich in history. Very, very famous. So Narragansett is dead ahead of us, and of course, if you go across the bay, we will find Newport. And Newport as a city is a very rich history. A rich history. Narragansett Beach is going to be ahead of us. And finally, of course, I want to also talk about Newport on the way too. So Newport, this is located on Narragansett Bay, 33 miles southeast of Providence. However, this city is very famous as one of New England's top summer resorts, and of course, no trip to Newport will ever be complete without checking out its historic mansions and its rich sailing history. It also first hosted the U.S. Open tournaments in both golf and tennis, as well as every challenge to the America's Cup between 1930 and 1983. It's the home of Salve Regina University and Naval Station Newport, which is host to the U.S. Naval War College, Naval Undersea Warfare Center, and an important Navy training center. And it was very much a major port city. It boasts many buildings from the colonial era. Of course, Newport's also famous for the summer White Houses during the administrations of President Eisenhower and Kennedy. Newport was actually a very old community, one of the oldest ones, in fact, founded in 1639. And its 8 founders were Nicholas Easton, William Connington, John Clark, John Coggeshall, William Breton, Jeremy Clark, Thomas Hazard, and Henry Bull. And it grew to be the largest of the 4 settlements that became the colony of Rhode Island. Newport's also home to the oldest synagogue in America, Oro Synagogue, built in 1763. But this area's got a rich Jewish history too. As a result, Newport's one of the richest histories of Jewish culture during the early years of America. But of course, Newport really grew also for its whaling industry, mainly because of sperm oil, which was at the time was used for lighting back in the day before like synthetic gas and materials made the lights. They actually used it out of whale. But of course, the place you want to check out here is definitely the mansion. There's several. Most famously include the Breakers, which was actually as a summer residence for the Vanderbilt family, Marble House for William Kesson Vanderbilt I, Chateau sur Mer for William Shepherd Wetmore, Rosecliff for Teresa Fair's Ulrichs, and Rob Point, which is home for Doris Duke. And they're actually open as public museums. You can actually visit these mansions. Some of these are pretty crazy. Of course, other places to check out for culture include the historic district of Newport, which has had the highest concentration of colonial homes in the nation. You can also visit the White Horse Tavern, one of the oldest in the U.S., dating back to 1673. And it's featured as a filming location for many motion pictures, including The Great Gatsby, Mr. North, True Lies, Me, Myself, and Irene, and in Hocus Pocus 2. So yeah, Newport, a very rich city with a very rich heritage. That's definitely the top city in Rhode Island I would want to visit. And finally, we're going to be visiting Newport State Airport. Covered here, Kilo Uniform. Also officially known as Colonel Robert F. Wood Park, is a state-owned airport in Newport County, Rhode Island. And it's one of 6 active airports owned by Rhode Island. It was actually the site of Southwest Grove. However, during the 20th century, it was the site of a horse racing track, with wealthy summer residents like Willie K. Vanderbilt, John Jacob Astor, and Townsend Burton would race automobiles of various types here. Afterwards, they built an airport beside in 1946. It's currently a GA airport with minor flights to New York. So that's basically where we're going today. Yeah, here's Narragansett Beach. Here is that. Of course, we'll be flying to Newport shortly. So one of the most prestigious buildings here in Newport is the Breakers, built between 1893 and 1895 for Cornelius Vanderbilt II, the mighty Vanderbilt family. This is a 70-room mansion with a gross area of 138,000 square feet and 62,000 square feet of living area on 5 floors. It was designed by Richard Morris Hunt in the Renaissance Revival style. And it's part of the U.S. National Historical Places in 1971, and it's still owned and operated by the Newport Preservation. But it's super cool. Cool looking facility, and it's the most visited attraction in the state. 450,000 visitors visit Breakers annually. And like I said, if I ever get a chance to do Rhode Island, I would love to check out these mansions. My mom and dad love old historic homes, so this would be on top of it. I'm gonna go ahead and start descending. That's because I don't want to lose altitude. This is Newport, Rhode Island. Doesn't have photogrammetry, sadly, but beautiful homes and stuff. That's why one of the nicknames for Newport, by the way. Also, this house was also featured in the HBO series The Gilded Age. It was featured in the season 1 finale as Russell's ballroom. Then they used the music room. it's a very famous building. That's why Newport has a nickname, um, America's the Queen of Summer Resorts, sailing capital of the world. I call it the Versailles of America due to all the rich mansions. And like I said, Newport, historic city and historic. Like I said, that's one of the great things about Rhode Island is it's got a rich culture and rich heritage. And slowly through all of it. Very opulent. Of course, the Vanderbilts, by the way, if you guys are aware, the Vanderbilts, of course, also are very well known for the Biltmore estate, which was also by the Vanderbilt family, mainly owned by George Washington Vanderbilt, which is all part of the same family. So his Vanderbilt family owned um, not only owned the Biltmore, but also the Breakers. They also owned that building too. Those are the two most famous buildings for a lot of people, but they also have other historic sites. The Cornelius Vanderbilt House in New York, the Hyde Park Mansion in Hyde Park, New York, and of course the Vanderbilts were most well known for finding a university, Vanderbilt University in Nashville. So anyone that's been around the Tennessee area probably all knows about Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt University. Very, very prestigious private university. Oh, and look at that. There's the Breakers. That was actually what I was looking for. The Breakers do have a photograph. Oh, nice. It's a PY landmark. This is fantastic. I was wondering where this is going to get a landmark. Of course. Here is the Breakers. How cool is that? I don't think the Marble House had anything, but I know the Breakers is. What was that? The breakers. Such a cool place, guys. That's neat. Can't believe they brought this in. We're gonna head up and visit the rest of Newport. Lots of famous houses. We also got the International Tennis Hall of Fame too. This the let's see. Yeah, if you ever take a New England cruise up to the New England area, especially if you go from New York, you can actually cruise your way into Newport. And of course, there's the naval station ahead of us too, where they did naval training and stuff. They do some stuff up here. Lots of amazing information here, Rhode Island. I think our second stop is up here. So we'll just land on runway 04. So we'll land here and we'll prepare for the third and final leg here pretty shortly. This is going to be pretty short. It's only going to be around 27 nautical miles, so it's going to be a very short leg. But yeah, I do like this ultralight. Failing. So we're going to stop here for just a minute or two to get ready for the next leg. So we got one last leg left to go, and this is relatively short in terms of distance, 26 nautical miles. So we got one last flight going here. Let's go ahead and get the last leg of the flight. Let's go up this direction. Make our way over to officially make our way over to Providence. Be our last stop here in Rhode Island. Let's go over and cover the last set of facts here about Rhode Island. We're about to make the end of the stream. So Rhode Island has several interesting fun facts. Rhode Island is, of course, the smallest U.S. state, 1,214 square miles. North to south, 48 miles north to south, and 37 miles east to west. Rhode was actually played for the first time in the U.S. in Newport. Obviously, makes sense. Polo has historically been known as the sport for the rich and wealthy, so of course, Newport being the center of the Gilded Age, it's not that surprising. The world's largest bug is on the roof of the New England Pest Control in Providence. It's a big blue termite. That's around 58 feet long and 928 times the actual size of a termite. Termites are pretty small. Though its second command to George Washington, Nathaniel Greene, a Rhode Islander, is acknowledged by many historians to be the most capable and significant general of the Revolutionary War. In fact, Cornwallis feared him the most, and he ultimately defeated him as well. Finally, since 1785, Bristol has the longest running unbroken series of July 4th observances in the country. Yeah, since 1785. Crazy. And finally, despite the fact Rhode Island is a very small state, it has many historical figures despite being small. Talking about so many. Some of the most famous include actor Harry Anderson from Newport, George M. Cohan, actor dramatist from Providence, Eddie Dowling, actor from Woonsocket, Irving R. Levine, news correspondent from Pawtucket, of course, the infamous H.P. Lovecraft from Providence, Rhode Island, known for his eldritch horrors and stuff. Yes, that's originated from H.P. Lovecraft. Originating here in Providence. From Ida Lewis, lighthouse keeper from Newport. Dana C. Monroe, historian and educator. And of course, you have Matthew C. Perry, naval officer. Matthew Perry being the guy who opened up Japan during his time in East Asia. He actually was the one who did this expedition to Japan. Yep. Oliver Hazard Perry from South Kingston, another well-known naval officer. Stephen Wilcox and Vera from West Horley. Jimena Wilkinson, religious leader from Cumberland. And Leonard Woodcock, labor union official from Providence, Rhode Island. Some very famous people from the state. That covers a bit of Rhode Island's history, so we're going to go ahead and fly our way to Rhode Island. So Providence will be coming up very shortly. Won't be too much longer. So I want to go ahead and cover Providence. We're going to be heading there right now. Of course, we know Providence is going to be where Flight Sim Expo 2025 will be held. But Providence is way more than just that, obviously. Providence is the capital, most populous city in Rhode Island. It's actually one of the oldest cities in the New England region, founded in 1636 by Roger Williams, a Reformed Baptist theology and religious exile from the Massachusetts colony, and named the area in honor of God's merciful providence, which he believed was responsible for revealing such a haven for him and his followers. It developed as a busy port situated in the mouth of the Providence River at the head of the Narragansett Bay. And it was one of the first cities in the country to industrialize and became known for its textile manufacturing and subsequent machine tool, jewelry, and silverware industry. Today, it's now known for more of service industry. So there are some manufacturing stuff still in the city, even after all these years. Population is 190,000 people, making it the most populous city in New England after Boston and Worcester. And its metro area, the second largest in New England, with 1.6 million residents. So Providence is quite a large city. It's known as the creative capital, the Renaissance city, the divine city, and PVD. One of the most interesting things about Providence is it hosts an environmental art installation known as Waterfire, which is about 100 bonfires which blaze above the surface of 3 rivers. There's also several ethnic neighborhoods, including Federal Hill and North End, which are Italian neighborhoods, Fox Point, which is Portuguese, West End, Central American and Asian, and Smith Hill, Ireland, the Irish neighborhood. It's also one of the most active and growing gay and lesbian communities in the Northeast, and it's 75% higher than the national average. And it's also got several notable points of interest, including Water Place Park, Roger Williams Park, Roger Williams National Memorial, Prospect Terrace Park are some of the most notable parks in the city. Some of its sister cities include Praia, Cape Verde, Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, and Guatemala City are some of its here Providence. We'll be flying over the state capital for a bit, and since we're taking this slow ultralight, we can actually take a bit more of our time. So that is Providence. So here it is, guys. Providence is coming up very shortly. So 16 nautical miles away from our final stop. Pretty close. To our left, if you can look to our left, we see TF Theodore Francis Green Airport. This is the main gateway to Rhode Island. And that's also where FS Expo will be held at this year. Oh yeah, speaking of FS Expo, if you ever got anything in the mail, apparently they're looking for some new for the new location for 2026. That's right, they have new news, so you can vote for where FS Expo 2026 will be at. So I did some voting and stuff. So for next year's voting expo, you can actually find the locations for it. So I've already voted, but some of the new locations they got for next year's, some cities they're looking to get. So next year they're looking for some local cities. So for next year they got Minneapolis / St. Paul, which is downtown St. Paul. You have Providence, which is this year's venue, so they might go back to Providence this year. Raleigh, North Carolina would be an interesting route. RDU is a growing airport, plus you also have Charlotte. So you do have to take a bit of a drive to get to Raleigh from Charlotte. That's not a bad option, especially with RDU being a very much a growing airport. It's very much a growing airport. It's continued to grow over the past couple years. Like this past year, Raleigh-Durham served 15 million people, which is a new record, and it's been growing rapidly since then. It's now been used, and it's got a great future as, again, Raleigh's grown due to all the growth of the local area. Raleigh would be a pretty good choice considering you can fly internationally from Paris. There you can fly international routes to Paris, London, Frankfurt. Doesn't have Dublin though. Then they got Las Vegas, which is where they hosted the 2024 as well. Salt Lake City, and finally St. Louis. So if I were to be honest, I think if I were to pick Flight Sim Expo next year, I mainly wanted to do Minneapolis, since it is a non-stop from Louisville to Minneapolis. That would make things easier for me. The price isn't too bad. It's close to home. And all that. Hey, Scripted Dev, thank you so much. Are you in multiplayer? Yes, I am in multiplayer. I'm on the Southeast Asian server. So thank you so much for the follow, my dude. We're doing the 50 states, 50 streams. We're about on our last leg here in Rhode Island. We're flying into Providence, Rhode Island. One of the oldest communities here in Northeast and in New England. So we'll be flying through Rhode Island here shortly. Once we fly through Providence, we'll make our way to our final stop here at North Central State Airport. So that is where we're going to be doing past week. Oh yeah, and our closest airport is Kilo Papa Victor Delta. By the way, that's your top right. That's the nearest airport. You know where to spawn. Unfortunately, multiplayer definitely needs to be improved significantly, however. That is one thing I will take for you guys. It definitely needs to be. Here it is, Providence. But definitely love this little GA plane. Definitely. So if you guys don't know about me, I'm ViperStrike95. I stream 3 days a week. Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. Currently we're doing the Fridays and Sundays will be our 50 states, 50 streams, which covers each of the 50 US states in detail. Different places we find in the country. This will be my first MSFS 2024 series. We'll do plenty of them. And then this year, I'm going to have to do multiple series over 2025 and beyond. And I think that's what I'm going to go for. Talking about different series on the channel. I'm going to go ahead and lower the volume, lower the throttle so I can start gliding now. Yeah, this is Providence. I took the Ultra glider today since the flight plan. Are you live in all players? All. Not live, all players. I don't have live weather or anything, so it's... Here's Providence. We'll fly this area a bit more closely. North Central Airport isn't too much farther. It's about 7 miles. Maybe one of the nice things about taking such a slow plane is you get to see more of the scenery. There it is, guys. Providence. See all these abandoned factories and stuff being now used for... This is Providence Place, like a shopping center. Before a factory, I believe. And here's the state capital. Pretty cool detail. So let's go ahead and we're going to continue flying this area for another 6 miles. That completes Providence. That'll be the left. No worries, scripted dev. No worries, my dude. We're going to be heading to our final stop in North Central Airport. We're going to land at runway 33. So like straight in. And we'll wrap up today's stream. I mean, I definitely enjoyed my time here in Providence. Here we go, guys. The final stop here. 4 miles. Oh, there you are, scripted dev. Edge 540. Cool. Yeah, Rhode Island definitely a really cool state. Here we go, guys. Final stop. Here we go. Finally made it. Welcome to beautiful. We're back at our home airport where we started today, North Central State. And here. Much better lane. Negative 145. Much better than the last one. Stop right here. We'll stop right here and we'll end the stream here, guys. Park. So, guys, that's it, everyone. We've officially wrapped up today's stream here in Rhode Island. Yes, it is the small state, but it has packs a punch with rich history, landmarks, and more. So, guys, thank you all so much for being here. Oh, in Scripted Dev, I'm actually up right around this area, the other side. You're right. So we're going to be heading off, and we're going to say hello to Kaharia. We'll be back next week in Nagoya in the Dreamliner. So, guys, thank you so much, and I hope you all have a great rest of your weekend. Take care, everyone, and see you all soon. Goodbye, everyone.